This is a daily review from Wednesday, November 30th, 2022 on the Nasdaq. And guys, as you can see today, it looks like the market has finally showed its hand on where it wants to go and what it wants to do, which is good news because we've been trading in a pretty consistent range the past few weeks right here and finally have some clarity on where the market looks to be wanting to go. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to outline exactly where I think the market is going to go and where it wants to reach for and what levels I'm going to be targeting, not just for a target, but for where I think we could see a big reversal point. So stick around. I'll get to that in a few minutes. But for now, let's just jump into the current price action from today and how it unfolded. As you can see, we had a huge impulse to the upside following the Powell speech from earlier today. It was time we broke out. We've been consolidated for about 2 weeks. And, it took a little bit longer than we thought. I was kind of going back and forth on which way it was going to go. We knew we had these equal lows. That price ran out and basically swept. And then, it was kind of now or never time. Like if this wasn't going to happen, then, it was very easily going to just roll over. So I was just waiting on my hands essentially to see what it was going to do. And now that we have this nice candle close to the upside, we are looking at the high from 2 weeks ago as a likely next target. But let's get into how it unfolded today. So if we go and just to start off, I'll just point out I did not take any trades today. I was always going to be I was looking to trade. I just didn't see a setup, but I was always going to be more cautious. As I said at the beginning of the week, I said I was going to be very cautious today with all the news that was going to be hitting. And there just wasn't anything clear enough for me. I'll get into that in just a second. So starting off on the 15-minute time frame, we can see that we had, this is Asia range right there. And we can see that we had a breakout and consolidation pretty much for the entire London session. So all of London was consolidating above this liquidity pool from Asia and basically filled in this gap from the left. And a lot of times when I see the market consolidating for an entire session above a previous session high like this, but not really going anywhere, I'm expecting that this could be a sort of a distribution for then price to come and immediately sell off at the beginning of New York Open. And so New York Open came, I think it was this candle. I think New York Open was this candle right here. The equities open. And as you can see, we shot up right away into this supply zone, if you will. And yes, we did have a reaction. So there was a sell that could have been taken there. I just didn't have enough confluence on the higher time frame to take that trade. I can tell you, I would have cut this trade early if I was in a short from here. The reason being was, the fact that it was just kind of holding around for a really long time and not really selling off, to me, invalidates that theory about what I just said, where it consolidates for an entire session. In that case, at New York Open, I want to see a quick rally up and then an immediate sell-off. As far as I'm concerned, if we're bearish, the market has no reason to come back up here. It spent an entire session above this high and accumulating orders. And at the start of the New York session, it should just sell off if it's bearish. So that was a red flag for me to not be holding shorts. Again, it did pay. If you took shorts here, or here, clearly, you got enough of a move to see some nice profit. The other thing that I saw that turned me off was this imbalance here on the left. You can see this Asia range imbalance. A lot of times, sometimes price comes back inside the Asia range. Sometimes you get an early breakout, not an early breakout, you get an immediate breakout in London, but before it really moves, it comes back down and fills a gap that's within the range. where it takes a key low, let's say, it spikes a key low and then pushes up, which is kind of the profile that we got today. I didn't take it long either, but again, seeing this imbalance that was just respected over and over again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times into this gap, it should be a signal that, the market is probably not bearish. The very least, it's probably just range bound and you don't really want to be involved in it. And right before the news, I kind of wish I had the balls to take this, but because of the news, I didn't. You can see we get, and actually let me back it up a little bit. If we bring out the market structure, highs and lows, we have this high, this low. The market consolidates, pulls back, forms this lower high, and then the market tries to make a lower low, gets to here, so pretty close to the low, but has an imbalance to the upside right here. And that's usually a long signal for me when I'm expecting a reversal or when I'm expecting the trend to change on this time frame based on a higher time frame support level, let's say. When you see the high, the low, the lower high, and then the failure to make a lower low followed by an impulse back to the upside, that's usually a great point to see a buy entry. And as you can see, this would have been amazing. It literally created this imbalance and then tapped into it right at the time of the speech and then just shot off like a rocket. So just something to journal, but again, no trade for me today on that. I did try to get involved when price was at the daily high of yesterday. So if we look at this level here, this is the daily high from yesterday. And as it was sort of hanging around this level, I was checking to see if I would get an imbalance through that high. And we did. As you can see, we have this large wick consolidation candle breakout above the level. When that happened, I had a limit buy order right here at this daily level. I just never got the pullback. So eventually I pulled the order. That's okay. That's just what happens sometimes. So I never got involved in a trade today. But looking ahead now this is what I want to get into about where I'm expecting the market to go. So actually the monthly is what I want to look at. So on the monthly, look how we closed the month. Yesterday we were saying that, hey, this might close as like an indecision with a long wick, and then we might see downside continuation on the monthly starting in December now. But the fact that now we've closed above last month's high, forming a swing low where we have a low, lower low, higher low, close above the middle candle, this gives me a short-term bias, short-term meaning on the monthly, a short-term bias. So think about that for a second. A short-term bias on the monthly could mean several days of bullish expectation in the short term. And I expect some monthly follow-through above November's high and towards maybe this high right here of September. Now, if we go down into the weekly chart, here are the levels I'm very interested in. I'm very interested in this one right here. And I'm very interested in on the daily. I'm going to make this blue. This is the level that I was alluding to earlier. So this one is they're both important. This one is a weekly. I'll make it red. But really it's this daily that I'm really looking for. And I'll explain in 1 second. But I think the obvious short, I think everyone's going to be shorting this, first of all. I think this just sticks out like a sore thumb. I could see this sort of faking out everyone. Maybe it dips a little bit off this level, and then I think it continues higher and it looks really strong, and then it gets above this right shoulder level. So I call this sort of a right shoulder level, this daily level up here with an imbalance right above it. And this is, so if you look at it from like a head and shoulders, this is like the left shoulder, this is the head, this is the right shoulder. So this is what I would call an attraction point, because notice that price left this area very aggressively. It never came back to tap into. So we have this volume imbalance gap right there, as well as just this imbalance right here. And then we have this high. So I think, what I'm going to be reaching for as sort of my draw on liquidity is going to be this area right here. I don't have a timetable exactly when I expect it to get hit, but I will be definitely looking to short this level. I want to see a sort of what I would call a right shoulder sweep, where it sweeps this right shoulder. We form a little consolidation, tapping into this gap, and then show a reversal. I would be very interested in getting short, and that would shape my bias for the next several days and weeks after that point. And likewise, until then, I'm going to be playing the long side in the coming days. Now, non-farm payroll might be a day I avoid. At least maybe afterwards I'll trade it, but I don't expect. I mean, I could be wrong. This could come all the way back down and stay range bound, but I do see this pushing up. There's just too many targets to the upside that are kind of waiting to be filled in. And again, on the monthly, yes, we're in this gap, but now this is showing us that this gap is not being respected really. The fact that we didn't even, on the first tap back into it on the monthly, we didn't even wick off of it. It did temporarily, but the monthly closed solidly through it. So to me, that means the candle wants to go higher in the coming days. All in all, I'm bullish up until this 13,220 level. I'll watch for maybe a reversal here at 13,000. But again, I think this is sort of like an obvious short that everyone's going to be looking at. And therefore, I think the market's going to blow through it. And then I think this too will be an obvious short, this like supply zone that I think the market is going to kind of blow through it. And then the market could wick up. It could wick up pretty high into here. And at this stage, it could look really bullish. Like it's going to take out this high. And then you get a shift in structure and violently move down and sell off. And I still think we're still in an environment where I see the market ultimately resuming a downtrend, or at least a larger range, and which I think would be very frustrating for a lot of people. And I could see that happening. Now, I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. That we will be invalidated if it goes above, but we'll see what happens. And I just wanted to give that to you guys to keep an eye out for. That's it for tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow.